Hi everybody, part 8 in the Richard Laymon novel review series, and the final part in the Beast House Chronicles, because I'm doing now the novella Friday Night in Beast House. This was published after Richard Laymon's death, but I'm not really sure exactly when after his death it was published, because Wikipedia says this was published in 2001, but the copyright page here says that it was first published in 2007. And that's how I remember it. I remember this coming out, at least in the UK, in the mid-2000s in hardback. So that's what I think is the correct date. I think this came out 6 years after his death. And as you can see, this is a very different kind of design to the usual stuff we got with Laymon, just to compare with the previous editions of the previous books, in the Beast House series. They all have that format. This here is a different size. It's bigger. Very different kind of cover art. No idea what that's supposed to be, but it's certainly not the Victorian mansion we've been led to believe the Beast House is. You know, the last we saw of that, it looked like this. Okay, there's the book, there's the spine. It's a very thin volume. And the synopsis says, Mark would do anything to get a date with Alison. Anything. Alison has just one condition. He has to spend a night with her in the legendary Beast House. To Mark, a night alone with Alison is a chance of a lifetime, but if the stories about the Beast House are true, it might also be a chance to die. As he waits for Alison in the cellar of the Macabre Museum, Mark tries to keep his first date nerves in check. But what he's feeling now is nothing compared to the terror he will face before the night is out. Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to the synopsis there, because this is an incredibly thin book, and a lot of it is actually taken up with empty space, as you can see there. It comes to 150 pages, but I think if you remove all the empty space, what you're looking at here is just a very long, short story, which is, as it just said there, about Mark, I think he's 16 years old. He's in love with this girl from his school, Alison, who really wants to spend a night in Beast House. So that means he needs to try and sneak her in after dark. And most of the novella is concerned with that. It's Mark getting into the Beast House as a normal visitor, and then finding a way to hide himself away until after hours, and then he can unlock the door for Alison to come in. He ends up achieving that aim, and the vast majority of this book is concerned with Mark hiding in a tunnel, waiting for the visitors to go, drinking a Pepsi and hearing sounds and things. It's okay, it's all right. It's nothing too exciting, but this is, I get the feeling, not entirely written by Richard Laymon. So rather than talk about the actual book, because there is pretty much nothing to talk about, it's just these two kids go into the Beast House, a beast shows up, the beast does what it usually does. It feels like a short story idea. Well, let me just conclude about the book by saying that I did like it very much as someone who is a fan of the Beast House, but if you've not read the other Beast House novels, avoid this. You won't have a clue. Well, you'll get what's going on, but you won't get why somebody wrote this and how on earth it ever got published. This was only published because of the name Richard Laymon and because it's got Beast House in the title. And the publishers knew that people like me, who were missing Richard Laymon, who'd been dead for a long time, would buy it just to read anything about the Beast House. Is it a good Beast House story? No, not especially. We don't spend much time in there. We don't spend much time in Malcassa Point. A lot of this consists of just dialogue. There's no real description going on here. We get a very, very short cameo from Sandy, the heroine of all of these books. I don't know if heroine's the right word to use for Sandy, but the main character. She has a very, very short cameo in this, which is very nice to see her again. Nice to get one last glimpse of this character who's been very important to me in my horror fiction history. But I don't really know why it was there. It doesn't serve any purpose to the plot. And this story takes place 2 years before the events of the Midnight Tour, the last book the last real book in the series. So that's why I want to spend most of the time here talking about the question of, did Richard Laymon write this? And or how much of it did he write? The more you read Richard Laymon, the more you start to pick up on what I've been calling Laymonisms. And those are idiosyncrasies of his writing, which I can't imagine anyone else has ever done. the sort of things he would describe and the way that he would describe them. A simple example is his endless use of the word rump to describe a woman's rear end, which I've never heard anyone else do, at least not so often as he does it. And the very ending of this novella is pure Laymon. I don't imagine there's another mind on the planet that would come up with I'm talking about the very, very end in the last page, which I like in a very sick kind of way, but it is a frightening idea to think that there's any other human being who would have thought that up. So, did he write it? My theory is that this was cobbled together in some way by discarded material from the previous books in the series. Maybe he had left behind at his death sketches for a short story or for a full-length novel. I don't think he wrote every word of this as it stands, as it's published. For example, it's incredibly rare in Richard Laymon to come across pop culture references. You know, like Stephen King in his books, he very often marks the time that he's writing by referencing musicians of the time, pop stars, films, actors, events, world events. Laymon almost never did that. But in this book, we get references to The Simpsons, The X-Files, other writer, John D. MacDonald is mentioned. Very strange for Laymon to do that. And like I said, the cameo by Sandy feels like a bit of fan service there, because nothing is done with that cameo. She just shows up, kind of literally says hello to someone, and then disappears again, never to be seen again. So, yeah, I think that's what's happened here. I could be completely wrong. This could be entirely a Laymon work, which was discovered after his death. After he died, there were several novels, long novels, published. No Sanctuary, Amara, The Lake, The Glory Bus. And when I review those, I'll be talking about how much I think he wrote those too. It is a very interesting kind of investigative experiment to try and judge which parts are certainly Richard Laymon and which parts sound a bit off. But that's really how I want to end this particular video. I want to end by saying that this is a very enjoyable coda to the Beast House series. Do not read it if you haven't read all the others. And by the way, if you've read the others and didn't like them, don't bother with this, because you'll hate it. You really will. You'll be bored to tears by it. But if you do like them, then obviously this is a must-have. You have to have it just to complete the collection. So that's the end of my survey of the Beast House Chronicles by Richard Laymon, a series of books which are very important to me in my horror fiction history. They are, I always say this, and I do feel a bit bad saying it, but I feel I have to, because I don't want anyone to go out and read them and then be vastly disappointed. They are, in many ways, terribly written books. Very juvenile writing, very simplistic writing. And they are nowhere near on a par with the horror greats in that sense. But what they are is, for me at least, immense fun. The characterizations are very often childish. I didn't mention in my review of The Midnight Tour that the character of Owen is one of the most infuriatingly childish characters I've ever come across in any book. Read that book and just see what a drip the guy is. But like I said, these 4 books here are incredibly special to me. So I don't know if these videos will encourage anyone to seek them out. If they do, I really hope you get some enjoyment out of them. If not, well, it's all just taste, isn't it? We like what we like. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching this video. If you did watch this far, that's going to be the end of the Beast House series. My next Richard Laymon review, I don't know which novel I'm going to do, but I'm going to get back to his non-Beast House books. There are many, many more to go of them. So take care, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.